The Habs, 0-0. The NBA season kicks off this week, and Major League Baseball is real close to the World Series. All that and more on Sports QuaranTV. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson, Gerry Green coming at you. Gerry, before we get started, I think I can only say one thing, and that is, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
And why is that, Chris? Well, you got all the sports going. That's what you got going.
You can't absolutely not love this week. It's my favorite. This is the best time to be a sports fan because every major sports league is up, running, happening. You got baseball playoffs, hockey season's underway. The NFL is still going. The NBA starts this week. Like, you name it, we got it. We've got all the sports.
Yeah, and locally on the ice, it's the Q that's the topic of conversation, and who's doing what, and who's surprising who, and who's maybe a little bit of a disappointment. And for me, Chris, Acadie Bathurst being on top of the overall standings, even ahead of the Quebec Rampart, who are very stingy defensively, as my research showed me today. The Rampart have allowed very few goals and sit second overall. Meanwhile, Bathurst just tasted their first, I guess, taste of defeat. It was a shootout loss to Moncton this week in Bathurst, which was a little surprise. That Moncton's staying at 3-3. But the disappointing thing is, you got Bathurst on the top, you got St. John on the bottom, but the Sea Dogs showing some life this past week.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, St. John has just been, we had talked about it off the hop in regards to, what St. John was going to look like, how that team was going to be. We were a little surprised at the beginning. I had a great conversation with Trevor Georgie last week, and he was telling me he's actually not surprised. I mean, you got to remember bringing in a new head coach in Gordie Dwyer and trying to learn new systems and make it all work. Plus, in regards to, the news about Ryan Francis and the news about Kuznetsov coming in, and, Kuznetsov is up in the air. It's still a couple weeks if he gets here. Ryan Francis looking more and more like he will be coming back to St. John at this point, but at the same time has just signed his entry-level contract with the Stockton Heat. So, it's a big question mark, and it leaves a big hole in that roster. But again, you got to realize that, all these guys coming on in, there were some big adjustments, but they're riding the pipe right now in the back. So they finally got the goaltending to come on in. It's interesting, but overall, St. John's finally starting to turn around. One of the things I've noticed, I mentioned last week, and I saw it again last weekend, and that was the defense are starting to be more responsible in their own zone. And I like that because we have ripped them apart for the last 2 or 3 years. I'm sure it feels.
Well, it's funny you say that. And then Jeremy Poirier goes ahead and scores 3 goals in an important game against Cape Breton as the Sea Dogs split a couple of games against Cape Breton. And amazing how many dog games have gone into a shootout or overtime. They've been tooth and nail fighting for points since the season began. So they got the shootout and overtime, shootout loss and overtime winner, vice versa, at home this past weekend. But their goals against, Chris, as I say, Quebec has allowed just 11 goals in 7 games. Their goals against is 1.57. That's pretty good. Where the Sea Dogs are right now, Chris, they're at 3.85. So that's got to get better. Defensively, goaltending, you can't put your finger on which one it is, but that's got to improve. And also the Charlottetown Islanders. Remember, we were praising them so highly here just a week or two ago when they started 3-0. Well, they've lost their last 4, and they've been shut out in 2 of the last 4. Chris, they sit at 4-3. Their latest setback came at the hands of Acadie Bathurst on Sunday. So you're a little surprised at that little bit of hot then cold scenario?
I don't even think the word little suits that very much. I mean, I pegged Charlottetown to be, possibly making a run at the division. I mean, it's going to be a great division here, the Maritime Division, obviously with Bathurst and St. John. But I always had Charlottetown. Charlottetown had such a solid roster and what they were going to do. And, the goaltending piece was a huge question mark for me, what they were going to do with Jacob Gooby and obviously with the import goaltender who's there now as well. It was supposed to be Gooby's net to have. Well, guess what? It's not. And now if you're looking at what's going on, but you look at the blue line there and you look at this team, like I was expecting more from the Brett Budgels of the world. Lucas Cormier, again, not saying he's in over his head, but he can't do it by himself. Again, I think it's a small sample size. It's 7 games in for Charlottetown at this point, but at the same time, that's almost 10 games in, which is almost 17% of the way through the season. Right?
But if Simino's out of the lineup and they've been shut out in 2 of the last 4, so obviously it's more offensive than defensive, whether it's Gooby in the defense. And I know Luca Cormier likes to chip in, and the defensemen overall for Charlottetown like to chip in offensively. So that's the challenge they they have ahead of them. And it's interesting, Chris, now we're seeing teams from Quebec coming to the Maritimes. You got Rouyn-Noranda and Val-d'Or coming this weekend to make a run through the Maritimes. And Shawinigan just went through and won 2 of 3. So that's encouraging and exciting at the same time.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, I saw, and good on it. I want to give a huge kudos to the social media teams in the Atlantic for the QMJHL. I mean, really promoting the game, the fact that, Quebec teams are rolling through the Maritimes again. And, I love it. I think it's great. It's for a lot of the fans. And if you still look at the attendance numbers, Jerry, on all these teams, the attendance is not even close to where it should be right now. And, right now they're relying on, feeds and streams, and they're relying on social media to help them get through the knowledge that they're trying to find. And, it's not an easy task. And let's be real, a lot of these social media guys for these QMJHL teams aren't highly sought after crazy professionals who are paid through the nose, right? These guys are doing it on their own side. So anyways, it's kudos to them. I tip my cap, because watching, you got to give this information to the fans who aren't in the buildings, because they're still not quite comfortable being there yet. So, I tip my cap to them.
Coming in second place in the Maritime Division, Chris, the Halifax Mooseheads, who are 4-1-1. They've got Zachary Leroux back. They got Elliot Desnoyers back. They were in Moncton on the weekend and looked very strong in a shutout victory against the Moncton Wildcats, who are hot and cold. They're sit at 3-3, and right where you would expect them to be, and trying to find their way as a new team. But does Halifax? Do you think Halifax? We didn't know if they were going to be in the top 3 or not. Do you think they can contend near the top?
I think they can, but at the end of the day, they're not like Cam Russell's not going to go out and buy what he needs to acquire to try to win himself a championship this year. And he knows
he's got a couple of studs up front, though, Chris.
Without a question. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, if you've got a shot to win this thing, or do you have a chance to stockpile and replenish the cupboards? And you got to think Elliot Desnoyers is going to be the hottest commodity on the market. Zach Leroux, yes, of course, but he'll be back next year. So it's Desnoyers is your key piece. But talking about Moncton, I thought it was a really cool gesture for Moncton during the game that Halifax is in. They had a nice tribute to both Zachary Leroux and Elliot Desnoyers on the Jumbotron at the Avenir Center. It was very, very Elliot Desnoyers, of course, obviously in Moncton a lot longer than Zachary Leroux was, but either way, very great gesture. And speaking of Moncton, I'm not sure if you saw, the central scouting report from the NHL came out from players to watch from the Moncton Wildcats. They made the report this year. Barbashev, Loshing, Filion, and Ty Bell have all made the players to watch list in NHL central scouting. So, again, congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, the Moncton Wildcats surprised me a little bit with the shootout win in Bathurst, and Bathurst played well. It was a good, solid game back and forth, and surprised me a little bit. Moncton's going to be in St. John for the first meeting between those two teams on Saturday, and then they're in St. John's in Bathurst on Sunday. Moncton's going to be hosting Rouyn-Noranda on Sunday, so Rouyn-Noranda is going to come through Moncton, and then Rouyn-Noranda is going to go through Bathurst as well. So, and Val-d'Or is going to go to Cape Breton, Halifax, and Charlottetown this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see those results, because Val-d'Or is hovering near the top of the standings. Rouyn-Noranda is kind of treading water a little bit, but to see those other teams come over the borders, Chris, is something we haven't seen in a long time, and it's really exciting to see them back. Just like if you want to go on and talk about the NHL and the fact that we're not seeing Montreal playing Toronto and Ottawa playing Montreal, we're seeing that a little bit. We're seeing the Battle of Alberta. But you have Vancouver and Winnipeg have gone south of the border, and San Jose and Anaheim have come north. I'm excited by that.
Oh my goodness! I never thought that I could say how excited I would be to not see the Habs play a Canadian team again for a long time.
Yes,
you're right. Absolutely, it was great to see see San Jose come to Montreal this week. But I
was it, Chris? Really? Was it?
Honestly, I'm at a point now where I don't.
No, the result wasn't.
I will say this on camera. On the
there
record,
we go.
We'll have it. It'll be on the internet for everyone to hear for a long. I've been told that I have 2 minutes, so I better make it count. One, the Montreal Canadiens are a full-blown pure dumpster fire. There's no nice way to put it. The fact that you have scored 3 goals in 4 games is an absolute embarrassment. It should not happen. I don't know what the situation is. I understand that, you're missing a guy like Joel Edmondson right now, who's gone for personal reasons. And, obviously with everything going on with his dad, but overall, there's no Carey Price. There's no Shea Weber. This team lacks leadership. They are not playing for Dominic Ducharme right now. A bigger question/concern for me from a Montreal Canadiens standpoint, and that is Marc Bergevin has not signed his contract extension yet with the Montreal Canadiens. His contract is up this year. A lot of rumors have speculated him going to the LA Kings to be the general manager there after the year. But I'm worried as a Habs fan that he is going to empty the cupboards in a panic move to go acquire a name like Jack Eichel. But the draft is back in Montreal. When if they're going to tank, Jerry, tank. I hope they go 0-82.
Chris,
if they're
going to do games. And again, whether or not Price or Weber aren't there, Price and Weber don't score goals. You need guys scoring goals. All you've left from the front lines, you lost Corey Perry, and you lost Kotkaniemi. Am I right there? Suzuki has a big fat chunk of wad of money in his pocket and has done diddly squat. So I don't know. I've liked the fact that Anderson and Drouin have found some chemistry, but it's not enough. And Hoffman just makes his way back into the lineup last night. I don't know why you're throwing dirt on them already when really, I know it's 4-0 and they've never done that before. It's the Montreal Canadiens. But there's still room for improvement, but they have to score some goals, and there's no doubt about that.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody, look, I get what you're saying, Jerry, but what's missing, and you're right, Carey Price does not score goals. Shea Weber does not that guy either. But what they do is they hold people accountable. And this entire team, nobody is skating right now. David Savard, and I've pumped his tires. I love David Savard ever since he played in Moncton. He has looked like the worst signing I've ever seen. And this is absolutely killing me. Overall, hey, Romanov needs to be paired with a guy like him. They've bumped Caulfield down to the third line. In fact, he's playing on the third line tonight as our viewers are watching this. I don't agree with that because, like, it's his fault. Anyways, you're right. That's my 2 minutes are up. Let's talk about Evander Kane, Jerry. The news coming out of Evander Kane, 21 game suspension for doctoring his COVID passport. Are you surprised?
I'm just tired of this. No, I'm tired of this guy, Chris. I'm surprised San Jose took the degree of commitment to Kane with the contract they gave him. He did, no doubt about it. He's talented, but he's a head case, and that's why he hasn't survived. There was a thing tweeted out this week with Bufflin giving him the fingers, flipping the bird on a clear picture that you could see that it was doing. Bufflin got him out of Winnipeg and got him shipped to Buffalo, which was a great trade for the Jets at the time. But he's obviously a cancer, and why you would commit to him that much. And 20 games, Chris, I think that's 2 months, isn't it? Don't you play about 10 games a month? Something like that. So he's on the shelf for 2 months for them to try to figure out. And the brain thrust of San Jose is going to have to get together and decide, we got to try to find a way to cut him loose. And I don't know if it's, let's pay the money, get rid of him, or whatever the case. I just don't see him coming back, Chris. I really don't see him coming back and playing for San Jose. And I don't think they can trade him. I don't think there's any team that would want him. There's no Raiders team of the NHL that takes all the cast-offs and the troublemakers. There isn't.
Tom Brady is not anywhere in the National Hockey League. Welcome them all into Tampa. But no, the only thing I'll say about Evander Kane is I think the 21-game suspension, I actually thought it was going to be higher. I mean, this came back like 3 weeks after the other investigation he was under for possibly gambling on his own team, which again came back negative, and I get it. But overall, this guy is such a noise in the media. This guy is doing nothing. He's doing nothing positive for your game. I say be done with it. Move on from him. Peace out. Thanks for coming, Evander Kane. You are a donkey. Let's talk about Brady Tkachuk. Go ahead. Nope.
Well, I just wanted to say you're crying the blues about the Habs. Here the Jets go on a 3-game Western road swing, and they go into Anaheim and LA that aren't supposed to be. Anaheim and San Jose that are supposed to be soft touches. Nobody's talking about them. Well, I saw both games, and they're both good teams. And of course, the Jets played good too, but their goaltending let them down, as I always say I'm worried about. And Hellebuck was in net for all 3 games. And they went into Minnesota last night, had the victory rate in their fingertips, and let that get away. So they come home, they get 1 day off, and then they play again tonight, a matter of fact, and they host Anaheim again. And after coming home from a 3-game road trip, darn tootin', I bet you they're going to lose again, be 0-4, and I'll be joining the club. As in the 4-0 club. The 0-4 club, rather.
The 0-4 club. Yeah, it's a challenge, man. And I remember I was pumping the Jets tires. I had them possibly being the team to beat in Canada. And again, as you told me, I will tell you the same thing, Jerry. There's plenty of time. They're going to turn this around. They're going to turn it around.
Well, it goes. Well, and Blake Wheeler's off on COVID, and and I think he has symptoms. It's not that he just tested. I think he has symptoms there, so that's a concern. What about Buffalo, Chris? They're 3-0. I know they played Vancouver and they played Montreal, and I don't know the third team they played
now,
but they're 3-0, and they look like they're having fun, is what I've seen.
Well, it's confusing. I don't even know the nice way to put it. I mean, good on them to do what they're doing right now. It's exciting, especially after the news, with the Jack Eichel distraction, we'll say, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
But overall, it's one of those things where, good on Buffalo. I look now and go back to the draft when Owen Power was drafted by the Buffalo Sabres. He decided to go back and wanted to take another year. I almost think he might regret that now. This Buffalo Sabres team is young. They're fun. They're having a good time. And yeah. I love it.
Did you notice Edmonton is 3-0, and who's leading the way near the top of the standings? Individual scoring, McDavid and Draisaitl. So they're still doing their thing, and Edmonton off to a 3-0 start. It's encouraging for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's any surprise. I mean, coming off the heels of the last, we've talked about it year after year for the last 2 seasons about the Edmonton Oilers and what they were going to do. And, the minute everyone was expecting bigger things from them last year in the postseason because of the North Division. And, it was something that really should have happened. But overall, it didn't take place that way. Edmonton kind of got bounced out of the postseason. And yeah, I was expecting big things. And I think this will be a different year for Edmonton. And I know that they're going to rely heavily on their goaltending. And I think Connor McDavid's going to put this team on his back and say, Leon, let's go. We got a job to do.
I noticed I had the free NHL pack for the first week, I think, or whatever it was. And Tampa Bay and Florida were playing the other night, and that was entertaining. It's always going to be entertaining. And Florida looks like they're ready. Florida looks like they're ready to contend. And I know it's only one game, and I know it's in October, but it was still just as entertaining as the playoff round they had in the spring. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely right. One more quick topic before we move on. I want to talk about Brady Tkachuk quickly because it was the most surprising. Yes. Like everyone was waiting and waiting and waiting. Brady Tkachuk is finally staying put in Ottawa. I thought it was great. They announced the signing, of course, on their home opener day, and they had him in there to say hi to the fans. He wasn't in the lineup, but overall, good news for the Ottawa Senators. Peter, Dorian's always been known for not handing out big contracts. And well, hey, he did what he had to do to keep that guy in check and keep him in an Ottawa Senators uniform, and that's what the fans wanted.
So Major League Baseball, then there was 4, Chris, and your Red Sox are still involved, and they are hitting the long ball. They've hit 21 home runs going into Game 5 in that series. They're going into Game 5?
Yeah,
Game 4.
Game 5. No,
going into Game 5. Hit 21 home runs, Chris. The other 3 teams, the Dodgers have hit 9, the Braves have hit 6, and the Astros have hit 11. That is phenomenal, Chris. 21 home runs from a variety of people in this Red Sox team. Why don't you explain it for us?
They're going up and down the lineup. And, I was looking at the offensive roster from a Boston Red Sox perspective and, looking at the guys who are getting the job done. I mean, one of my favorite pieces of the Boston Red Sox lineup is Alex Verdugo. I absolutely love him. JD Martinez is a beauty. Devers has been great. Schwarber, of course, Schwarber's just doing what he does. But overall, if you look at this Red Sox lineup, you're right. It's all over the place. Not one guy is dedicating where it's coming from. And I mean, they broke an MLB record in this, in the ALCS, and they're the only team to hit 3 grand slams in a series.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. If you look at how they're doing this, and I mean, pitching has been great outside of Chris Sale. In my opinion, Chris Sale's been the worst pitcher the Red Sox have had in this series.
It has been doing it without Sale for sure. And on the other side, I didn't know much about the Atlanta Braves, but Atlanta holds court and holds serve and wins both of their games at home in dramatic fashion, and then go to play LA in Game 3, have them hanging by their toenails, and LA hits a grand slam, and they go on to get a victory. It was a 3-run homer by the Dodgers, I think, to tie it. But anyways, had them fans leaving the ballpark in Los Angeles because of the way that Atlanta was controlling it. It looked like they're going to take a 3-0 lead, but you can't knock the Kings down. What I mean by that, the champs, you can't count them out but Yogi Berra would say, it's never over until it's over. And even though one pitcher, and the pitcher that Atlanta had in at the time when I thought they were going to snuff them out, they take them out because you got some right-handed bats coming up. I still can't get my head around that. Does anybody in the playoffs pass the eyeball test? You talk to your catcher, you see what the guy's throwing. Nobody's touching him. You're going to pull him because there's a couple of right-handed bats coming up. Doesn't make sense to me. It's very frustrating.
I fully agree with you. I mean, I just want to touch quickly on the positives before we get into the frustration piece, because you're right. The Atlanta Braves to me have been it's been an amazing surprise. I love watching this team do what they do. And again, I had the Dodgers to win the whole thing going back to back, but overall,
and still might.
They very well could. You're absolutely right. But that big come from behind win, key piece of that was Mookie Betts. I mean, Mookie Betts was a huge deal in that comeback.
Yeah, he's quite the guy. I'd like to have him on my team.
Yeah, well, stop it. Just stop it.
On any team. I'm saying if I had a team, I'd want him to be on it. You put him in center field and put a good catcher in there and a stud on the mound.
But I like Verdugo. Anyways, all that to say, you're right. I do get frustrated with the pitching matchup stuff. When you talk about managers, and I think they're overthinking it. And again, there's a reason they're where they are and we're where we are. So I'm not trying to take away from that. But overall, it frustrates me, especially when a guy's dialed in and you're just be like, oh no, we got a left-handed batter coming up. We got to right in the mound. We got to move it. It's
tiresome. And we saw Tampa, screw themselves last year by doing that. So we'll see how it works out for them.
You're absolutely right. All right, Jerry, we've got a couple minutes left. I want to talk about the NBA quickly because the NBA season kicks off this week. Looking at the favorites on who's to win, Brooklyn is favored to win. Again, this is all still coming off it's all based off Kevin Durant at this point. I mean, you look at the guys who are in there, Kyrie Irving, that's still a huge question mark on what's going to happen there, whether he's going to play. But behind Brooklyn is the Los Angeles Lakers, of course, with LeBron James and, apparently everybody from the retirement home jumping on and joining the Lakers this year.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Milwaukee's right up there again. There's rumors they could be heavy favorites to go back to back. Golden State back in the news as well. I mean, Steph Curry. Anyways, it's exciting. I'm glad NBA season's back, but the Raptors also kicked their season off this week.
They kicked their season off at home finally, and that'll be fun. Just like you saw what it did to the Blue Jays and how the Blue Jays didn't have a home, and once they found a home, they were dominant at the Rogers Center. I watched Milwaukee handle Brooklyn the other night, and I still think Milwaukee has the ingredients to do it. They've got a superstar there in the Greek Freak that has the load off his shoulders about any sort of pressure, and it's probably going to improve his game. And again, it's always been said, Ric Flair says it, to be the man, you got to beat the man. So you still got to go through Milwaukee, and you still got to go through the Bucks. I don't care what LeBron James is doing, and I don't care what KD is doing. They had their opportunities along the way, and I think it's the time for Milwaukee, and I'm very excited for him, and I'm happy after so much pressure had been on him, just like it might be on Embiid in Philadelphia, and that's a mess with
Simmons,
Simmons there. But there's so many storylines in the NBA, you can't keep track of them all. But I'm a Milwaukee fan, and I think it's Milwaukee's for the taking.
Oh, look, I like it. I appreciate your optimism. I don't share it with you, but I appreciate it. I think, and I would like it. Look, there's nothing wrong with it. And I like Giannis. I like Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was going to try to get you to spell it.
No.
But overall, I there's something about this Laker team as well. They didn't look very good in the fourth quarter last night. But overall, I think they're going to get things together. There's a reason they put this team together, and I would like to see Carmelo Anthony get a ring. So we'll see. But Brooklyn, if they can piece it together, they've got so much talent. And of course, Steve Nash, the guy at the helm there. My question is, I think it might be too much talent. And sometimes you see these super teams come together. You've got a lot of individual guys and they just can't play team basketball. So who knows? We'll see. Jerry, we've got about a minute and a half. We haven't even talked about the NFL, so we're not going to get into a whole lot about it. But overall,
don't go off on the Colts and we'll be able to get a lot of information.
I'm not even going to bring up the Colts other than Carson Wentz was QB of the week. Okay. What else?
Baltimore and Arizona. Baltimore and Arizona had big victories, decisive victories as Arizona beat the Browns. And Baltimore beat the Chargers at home and really exposed the Chargers a little bit. And that Titans-Buffalo game, Chris, what about the decision? Monday Night Football, they're on the 1 yard line or 2 yard line, there's inches for a first down and go for the win. And Josh Allen slips and they don't get the first down. They lose the game to the Titans. Did you see the game? What did you think of the decision?
Questionable. I saw the game, but overall it was, I didn't quite get it. But hey, it's not my job to get. I think it was it. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even have words for it, man. I just know that I'm trying to get all these topics off. But yes, I love it.
And quickly, I love a team that runs the football, and that's exactly what the Titans did with Derrick Henry. That was the show for me on Monday night.
He's an absolute beast. He's an animal. Derrick Henry is a machine. There's no angrier way to say it. If you've got Derrick Henry in your fantasy league, guaranteed you probably won last week.
Arizona 6-0 still. Yeah,
Kyler Murray's an absolute star. I think he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. before Patrick Mahomes fell apart. Anyway,
so games to watch this week, Chris. Chiefs are at the Titans, and the Bengals play at Baltimore. 2 games to keep your eye on. Not a whole lot of marquee games, but those are a couple of them for week 7.
Absolutely. You heard it, guys. Well, it is time for the wrap where we hit quick hits, quick topics. We're going to get them right out as fast as we can, and we're going to start with AUS hockey. Jerry, what's going on?
Well, I love hockey, and I love university hockey. And the varsity Reds, I said it again, UMB Reds, still 4-0. They've only allowed 5 goals. And Griffin Outhouse, yes, he got his first victory, beat St. Mary's on the weekend 4-1. St. FX fell from the ranks of the undefeateds. They lost in PEI. Moncton's still looking for their first win. They're 0-3-1 after an overtime loss to St. Mary's at home. Game to watch this week, UNB and St. FX meet in Antigonish. Should be a great one. Moncton's in there to take on St. FX on Saturday. Chris, Saturday, no, it's not Saturday, but Kotkaniemi is going to come back to Montreal, but why?
Carolina Hurricanes are in town to play the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, it'll be Kotkaniemi's return to the Bell Center. A few things you need to know. Once Kotkaniemi, of course, leaving the Habs and signing with the Carolina Hurricanes with that offer sheet that was matched. I don't care what any of you out there would say. He did exactly what you would all do. The question mark is should he get booed when he gets back to the Bell Center? No, of course he shouldn't. Will he get booed? You're damn right he will, because that's how Habs fans are, and we are nuts. But either way, it's going to be an exciting one. Atlantic Collegiate Baseball Association. Jerry, give me the news.
Yeah, not many people know about it, Chris, but the university teams get together and they have a baseball championship. It was hosted by the Holland College Hurricanes this past weekend in Charlottetown, and the UNB Reds beat Acadia 7-6. They went 4-0 during the tournament. Matt Nason was offensively talented. Gigan Kaskell, he was the winning pitcher, and it's the time they repeated, because the last time they played was 2019. So we tip our hats to the UNB Reds baseball team for a championship. Let's get back to Buffalo. Chris, what about Jack Eichel? Give us an update.
4 teams are still remaining. They're now asking Buffalo to retain salary. Buffalo said no chance, but I'm hoping we'll have an answer here soon on exactly what's happening. So anyways, that's our wrap this week. Before we go, don't forget the New Brunswick Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony is this Friday at 7 p.m. Another great year of great inductees. Love it. New Brunswick gets some of the greatest names and athletes in their Hall of Fame. So make sure you can tune that in on Rogers TV, 7 p.m. Friday night. That's going to wrap it up this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday.